Delegates and visitors, colleagues and friends, it is with deep appreciation to the LCM Renominating Committee and the LCM Board of Directors that I stand before you to be considered for re-election as Executive Minister of Local Church Ministries and as an officer of the church that we all love. 2 years ago in Tampa, when I was elected to fill a 2-year unexpired term in this office, I was wide-eyed and aware of both the big challenges and great opportunities that face us as the United Church of Christ and our local churches. I spoke of the saltiness, the light and leaven that the UCC distinctly offers in the marketplace of religious ideas, and these past 2 years have been a confirmation in the validity of that claim. Over the past few days at General Synod, I, along with others, have had multiple opportunities to speak to you already about programming, strategies, and initiatives emerging from the national setting that are already showing an impact and reinvigorating our understandings of what it means to be church together. Be it creative and contagious shared mission work like Mission One or the Faith In Project or Mission for One Earth, or the exemplary work of our new Mesa ministry team to bring renewed confidence to our search and call process and to revamp the ministerial profile system through better use of technology. We are doing things differently in the national setting these days, with innovation and impact being our chief concerns. We've launched the New Beginnings Congregational Assessment Tool in order to better equip congregations to make bold decisions about new directions in their ministries. And we're reinvesting again in research, making it a top priority through the creation of a new UCC Research and Data Center so that we can better measure and report back to you trends, shifts, successes, and emerging places where we see the UCC having impact. The Church Building and Loan Fund has launched 8 ambitious initiatives this year alone to better assist congregations wanting to rethink their buildings and better utilize them for mission. I could expound on each of these and list many other priority projects as well, but the point is this. In these days of significant change, both in church and society, we must do things differently, and we must earn your trust and your confidence and your financial investment as we take risks and initiate experiments to ultimately lead this church and its institutions into new frontiers for service and for growth. Rarely a day goes by that I don't consider what a great privilege it is to be able to serve in a position like this one. And I am forever grateful to you and to God for the shot that I have been afforded alongside my wonderful collegium and conference minister colleagues, seminary presidents, the incredibly talented, committed, and hardworking staff of Local Church Ministries, its board of directors, the whole national setting, and with all of you, to help craft a future for the UCC that can be rooted in hopefulness, in growth, in innovation, in bold, inspirational goals that we can achieve together. Strengthening our faith formation ministries, equipping our authorized ministers and lay leaders with the skills and support they need, both in times of settled ministry and during times of transition, and deepening our commitment to the vitality of our local churches, giving birth and welcoming new congregations into our midst, and celebrating the engaged mission of our whole church in concert together, pursuing excellence in all that we do. It is a great blessing to be able to travel weekly, sometimes daily, across the life of this church and to see you in action. In just 2 years, I have traveled to events in 32 of our 38 conferences, sometimes on multiple occasions, visiting almost 100 local churches and every one of our seminaries, many of our colleges, constituency groups, outdoor ministries, and health and human service agencies. And I've engaged in meaningful conversations with thousands of you about what the future just might look like for us as God's quirky people in this very unique time and place and purpose as church. I have marveled and shared and posted and tweeted about you. I have teared up in pride for you because I have witnessed you at the front lines of incredible marriage equality victories, climate change witnesses, immigration battles, voters' rights protests, and workers' rights rallies. Your fingerprints are all over everything good and worthwhile that this church stands for. And I get to brag about you in ecumenical interfaith conversations. And the one thing that I want to report back to you, this General Synod, is that our church and many of our local churches are strong. We are strong. Now don't laugh. Don't laugh. I realize I'm going to have to defend that because it is the church's fragility, not its strength, that consumes most of our talk these days, and what keeps most of us scrambling to read the next recent Diana Butler Bass or Phyllis Tickle piece that we can get our hands on. Because it's our uncertainty that keeps us awake at night. We wring our hands and we get all worked up about a future that we can't predict. Maybe it's because we once were so convinced that resurrection was something that we could manage, especially if we tried harder or we thought smarter. But we've forgotten that death is wrapped up in resurrection, and you can't have resurrection unless something is dead. And certain understandings and ways of doing things, yes, are dying all around us. But that's just making much needed room for new approaches to spring forth. Some with emerging clarity and ecclesial brilliance. And that's what I try to keep my attention on these days, as best I am able. If you look up the word strong in the dictionary, there are basically three definitions. The first has to do with old-fashioned heavy lifting. The second with doing or executing something well, like being a strong swimmer or a strong speller. But the third is the kind of strength I'm talking about, because it has to do with will, with the head and the heart. She was strong in the face of adversity. He never faltered. He remained strong to the very end. It's about resilience and determination and grace. And if those three words, resilience, determination, and grace, are any markers for strength, then I think we've got a pretty good case to make that there is still more light and truth to break forth from the United Church of Christ. It's no secret that the UCC, like other membership organizations, has witnessed significant changes in what belonging looks like and how we count heads and track attendance, or even why we do. But resilience, determination, and grace, these are much harder to quantify. How does one measure the mercy of a loving, ever-embracing God? Or how that kind of extravagant grace is made flesh and bone right here, right now, for people today, all sorts of people who need it so. It's sad to say this, but you can't just get this stuff anywhere. But every day and everywhere I turn, I see that bold example being lived out across this church, in our worship, in our preaching, in our change-making. Yet I still haven't found a way to put a number on it. But still I know the volume of our witness as the United Church of Christ is strong, and it is far from being muted or extinguished. But this is the new reality that we all must come to grips with. We are pilgrims again. We are people of yet another new religious frontier, deaconesses and deacons of an emerging church, not yet formed, no longer fully known, discovering, designing, and even delighting at times in the important and tricky work of maneuvering a Mayflower through uncharted waters and covenanting all over again that, yes, we will choose to walk together in all of God's ways. Who among us is ready to sign up for that? Massachusetts Rabbi Jeffrey Middleman struck a chord with me recently when he wrote that both religious and non-religious people both have an obsession with the wrong question. whether or not we believe in God. Because, as he says, that's really not the most helpful question, or even the ultimate one that we should be having. It never takes us to the heart of the matter. Instead, he says, these are the two questions we should be consumed with. How can we bring about more justice and kindness into the world? And how can we create more moments of deep connection? Maybe I'm a heretic, I don't know. But that's what a faith in God ultimately looks like to me. And those are the kinds of questions I see being asked and debated and lived out most fully in this church, and why it makes all the hard stuff we do worth the effort. In Alice in Wonderland, author Lewis Carroll famously penned this well-known line for Alice, you know it, I try to believe in as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Well, I don't completely buy that definition of belief, because I don't think belief has anything to do with believing in impossible things. I never have. I believe faith is about believing in possible things and making possible what others may dismiss as naive or unlikely or even improbable. Is this an easy time to be in the church business? No, not at all. But do people still yearn for places to speak to their hearts and their heads, make them laugh and cry in the same experience, cause their hearts to leap with joy and set their imaginations ablaze for all that's possible when people can come together to do good? Yes, I still see that happening all around us. When I was getting ready to graduate from college, after having spent most of my summers and Christmas vacations since I was 15 years old working for a local law firm, I was trying to discern whether or not I wanted to apply to go to law school myself. I talked to the senior partner of that firm, asking him if he thought there were already too many lawyers, and if so, should I reconsider and perhaps join another less crowded career field instead. My old friend and mentor responded, the number of anything is irrelevant, because no matter what you choose to do, there will always be room for one more excellent one. Although it was divinity school and not law school where I eventually landed, that good advice is something that I have not forgotten, because the same is true for the church. And despite every attitudinal or demographic shift we can obsess over, there will always be a way, a path, a bold future for a church that is excellent. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but God gave us a spirit of power and of love. Which prompted William Sloane Coffin to add, and this means we need not be defeated, and we won't be defeated if instead of colluding with our fears, we have the courage of our conviction that God has more love for us than we will ever have hearts to receive. And therein lies the choice, to choose and to believe what's actually quite possible for us over that which is not, because we are strong. For we are not our own, but we belong body and soul, both in life and in death, to our faithful Savior, Jesus Christ. In the 2nd chapter of Acts, Luke paints this beautiful worship scene where Peter, giving his testimony in front of all of his would-be converts, gets all caught up in the eloquence of his own oratory, preaching at the top of his lungs, the sun shall be turned to darkness and the moon to blood, and everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Oh my. And do you remember? The crowd interrupts him. Yeah, but what are we to do? What are we to do? Isn't that always the question? What are we to do? And Luke says, the answer they found was this. They got busy being the bold and faithful, loving church, following in the way of Jesus, he says, devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to prayer, and to the breaking and sharing of bread. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a good, workable, doable plan to me. It's worth a try. Thank you for this opportunity and for your consideration. God bless you.